Hello everyone. I am Dr. Anju Chaplot. I am Assistant Professor at Thakur Shamnaran College of Education and Research, Mumbai. In this video, we will be understanding the basic of micro teaching. So let us start. Very first, micro teaching was given by Dr. Dwight Allen. He was a professor at Stanford Graduate School of Education and also his colleagues. So they all developed this program called as micro teaching program. Let us now see the meaning of micro teaching. Meaning of micro teaching. It is a teacher training technique. So micro teaching is a teacher training technique in which a novice teacher, a person who is going to be a teacher, has been educated how to teach. The next point, develops mastery of one teaching skill at a time. So in micro teaching, what happens is the person or the to be teacher understand how to develop mastery in teaching a specific teaching skill. The next part is it is all related to taking a very small topic, as the word suggests micro. So, very small topic of the person's pedagogy subject or method has to be taken by that teacher, that is student teacher, so that the person understand how to develop mastery in teaching that skill. Now, this small topic is been taught only for 5 minutes. So, teaching time is 5 minutes, not more than that. Within 5 minutes, the person has to teach. Now, while teaching, the person is having a class size of 10 to 12 peers. So, to whom the person have to teach? It is the person's peers, the classmates itself. And also, one supervisor will be sitting to observe whether the person is correctly doing the work or not. The next part is recording of the presentation. If a person wishes, so the person can also ask his classmate to do to take a recording so that that recording can be observed by that particular student teacher who is presenting later on to know how good the presentation was, also to see the weaknesses and rectify those weaknesses. The next and the most important part is feedback given by the supervisor and teachers. Now, in this micro teaching, since one particular student teacher is presenting a particular small topic within a short duration of time and taking only one single skill, and there are people who are observing after the person completes presentation, the thing is that both supervisor as well as the people who are observing, that is the classmate of that particular student teacher, they give feedback so that the person understand where all things were very good, where all he went very appropriately. Also, he understand where he has to improve on. So this is what is micro teaching. A very small particular content is taken and taking only one particular skill and developing mastery over it. Let us now proceed towards the process of micro teaching in the coming slide. So the process of micro teaching is basically divided into three major headings. So very first it is, this is what is the very first thing, that is explanation and demonstration. So teacher educator defines and demonstrate the one micro teaching skill to the trainee teachers. Now, a person who is teaching the student teachers or trainee teachers is called as teacher educator. So very first step is that the teacher educator first explain what exactly is this micro teaching and also give a 5 minute demo how to present that micro teaching. The second aspect is planning, execution, and feedback. Trainee teacher plans the lesson and later execute it within 5 minutes in the presence of peers and supervisor. Afterwards, discussion and feedback of the lesson executed takes place. So second stage is after the teacher educator explained, the trainee teacher have to plan the lesson There is a proper lesson plan for each micro teaching skill. So after planning that particular lesson plan, there has to be execution. Naturally, lesson plan is there. Now the student teacher have to execute. So the trainee teacher will execute the lesson in front of the classmates as well as the supervisor, as said earlier in the meaning. And after the presentation, the person has to listen to the feedback of the participants or the supervisor as well as the peers. So this is what is the second stage. Let us move towards the third and the important stage in the process of micro teaching. So this is what is redoing and continuing. Now over here what happens is, if the plan is incorrect, then the trainee teacher must replan and teach. Later, rediscussion and feedback take place. The cycle is repeated till the trainee teacher attains mastery of the skill. So over here, the major part is, if any particular major mistake has been done, then the supervisor asks the trainee teacher or the student teacher to replan the lesson plan of that particular micro teaching skill, and also to reteach that is again the person has to execute, and then there's also re-feedback given. So this is all overall the process of micro teaching, that is right from very first place, that is the teacher educator teaches the content or the micro teaching skill. Also the teacher educator presents the micro teaching skill, a demonstration is given, and from the second stage the student teacher's work start or the trainee teacher's work start, and trainee teacher is going to plan, execute and listen to the feedback. If any major mistake is done, then what happens is the trainee teacher have to replan, completely redo the lesson, re-execute and listen to the feedback again given by the supervisor as well as the other persons or the classmates. So in short, what exactly is the process of micro teaching? Let us see. So it is a cyclic process. Micro teaching is not something which is only once. It is a cyclic process in which very first the student teacher or a trainee teacher is going to teach after preparing the lesson. Then they will listen to the feedback of the supervisor as well as the classmate. After that, if somewhere mistake is there which has to be rectified, the student teacher has been asked to replan the lesson. It may be possible the plan which was prepared by the student teacher was not at all correct, and therefore replanning has been asked. And since it is replanned, re-execution takes place, that is reteach. And after reteach, what will be there? Surely it will be re-feedback. So this is what is micro teaching, is a cyclic process. Till the person attains the mastery of that particular skill, the process continues. So this is what we have finished with the process of micro teaching. Let us see few of the micro teaching skills in the coming slide. So few skills under micro teaching. Very first is, it is called as set induction. Set induction is nothing but the introduction of the lesson. It is a micro teaching skill of introducing the lesson. So directly when we go in the classroom as a teacher, we do not directly start with the content. We introduce the content. We talk about something which is known to the students related to that content. We might show something different. We can show pictures, we can show some short videos related to that content and make that content interesting so that the learners are ready to understand the content in a detailed manner. So this is what is the most important micro teaching skill which has been taught to the trainee teachers or the student teacher, that is set induction. The next one is skill of explanation. So again, this is a micro skill of explaining the content. Now, as a teacher, we need to know how to explain the content. And how we are going to understand that how to explain the content, it is through understanding this particular micro teaching skill, that is explanation. So student teachers develop mastery and understanding how to explain the content through this micro teaching program. The next one is illustration with examples. As the word suggests, illustration with example, it is a micro teaching skill of presenting examples during teaching learning. So when a teacher is explaining, teacher apart from explaining also give few illustrations or examples related to that content. So this is what is, again, this is a micro skill where the teachers have to develop so that they understand how to give examples in the complete macro lesson. The next one, the next micro teaching skill is reinforcement. Now, what exactly is reinforcement? It is a micro skill of motivating the learners by providing encouraging remarks. Now, usually in teaching learning, we must have observed that when a teacher explains the content, she also asks questions. And when questions are asked and when a student give appropriate reply, the teacher also respond. So this is what is reinforcing the students. So reinforcement, how to give reinforcement, which type of reinforcement has to be given, what are the different ways of reinforcing has been studied in this particular micro teaching skill that is called as skill of reinforcement, so that students are motivated to understand, to learn more, also to give answers to the questions. So since the word question is coming, the next micro teaching skill is nothing but skill of questioning. So this is what is the micro skill of learning, the systematic manner of asking questions. So one of the major skill or the basic skill which the teacher has to know is to ask questions during explanation while teaching the students. So what happens is this novice teacher should know how to understand questioning, how to make sure that student understand what they are asking. So questioning skill has been understood through this particular micro skill program. Next and the most important is skill of stimulus variation. As the word suggests stimulus, this is a micro skill of using various stimulus. That is, we teachers use various type of stimulus to make sure that our students are attentive in our class. So this is what is movements, gestures, different methodologies, teaching aids during teaching learning the teacher has to use. So this micro teaching program help us to understand which different stimulus variations we as a teacher can use in our micro teaching or also in a macro lesson. So this is what is the six important micro teaching skills which has to be mastered by the novice teachers or we teachers also, so that we can give a appropriate lesson in our class. So let us now, after understanding these few skills, that is set induction, explanation, illustration with example, reinforcement, questioning, and stimulus variation, let us proceed towards what exactly is the importance of micro teaching. Why do we have to understand micro teaching? So this is what is need of micro teaching skill. It helps to ready to teach macro lesson in actual class. So the teachers who have mastered the skills, that is skill of set induction, questioning, reinforcement, and various other skills, the teachers are now ready to present their 30 to 40 minutes lecture in the classroom. So therefore, there is a very much need, because right from the beginning, from very small skill, a single skill, the teacher understands and develops mastery in all the skills through this micro teaching program. So this is what is, it makes teacher ready to give a complete lecture in the classroom, develops enthusiasm and confidence to teach. Now, this is the very beginning or the initial stage of teaching, where the teacher is not teaching in front of the student, rather, it is the teacher is teaching in front of his or her own classmate. So mistakes over here during micro teaching is always allowed because we have seen in the process that teach is there, again feedback is there, and also reteach is there if the things are not going well. So if the teachers develop initially they are prepared, they are practicing. So that practice help them to develop enthusiasm as well as confidence in their actual teaching. And the last one is mastery of each teaching skill. So later on, after the person becomes a completely full-fledged teacher, he is aware that how to teach in the classroom by using all these skills. So by integrating all these micro teaching skills, a complete lesson has been given. So this is what is the overall need of micro teaching skill. So let us proceed towards the last slide of this presentation. In this particular presentation, we have seen what exactly is the meaning of micro teaching. It is all about teaching very every single skill. First, understanding that skill and developing mastery towards that skill. We also saw the process of micro teaching skill. So, micro teaching skill requires lesson planning. It also requires to execute the lesson, listen to the feedback of the teachers as well as peers to rectify if the things are not going properly and replan, re-execute, and listen to the re-feedback. So this was what the process. Then we also saw the 6 different micro teaching skills. That is, we started with set induction, that was nothing but introduction of the lesson. Then we saw skill of explanation, then it was illustration with example, skill of reinforcement, skill of questioning, that is how to question in the classroom while teaching, and last and the important one was how to present the lesson by using different stimulus, by providing different stimulus so that our learners are attentive in the 30 to 40 minutes whole lecture. At the end, we saw the need of micro teaching, that is, why micro teaching is important for us as a teacher and how it develops our confidence to teach in the actual classroom by developing the mastery of each teaching skill, which will be useful in a macro lesson. So, this is all about micro teaching. I hope you must have understood the content. Thank you.